Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy. Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
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 Don't make me destroy you.
Hello and welcome to Sharing the Silver Screen here on Angry Andy Reviews. And yet again, as per our remit, we have Spider-Dan of Spider-Dan's Secret Balls podcast here. This is our shared cinema experience where we share a film once a month from either of our preferences. We did Tokyo Gore Police last month, and yes, that was an experience. That was for our premiere episode. And on this second episode, we are looking at my pick this time. And my pick is a sword and sandals epic starring Russel Crowe, directed by Ridley Scott, Gladiator. I was, I know your sort of shtick, Dan. When a film receives high praise or is one of those films that receives a lot in the Oscars, you tend to shy away from them. It's not necessarily shy away, it's a case of you don't sort of get absorbed in, I'm remiss to say, hype. You don't sort of get absorbed in the oh, this is a great film, you should watch it. I feel like you kind of go and then put it in the pile.
Yeah, pretty much.
Dust for 20 years, and then you go, oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess I'm not one for the kind of status quo. I don't follow I'm not one of these sheeple or following the stream. If people are saying like, oh, it's really good, Dan, it's winning awards, the box office is really good, all the high praise and everything, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it's very, very good. I'll get around to it. And 24 years later, I got around to Gladiator. But yeah, no, I kind of, again, it's kind of part and parcel of what I do and the podcast and stuff. Again, like, I'm wearing a Jaws t-shirt right now. You can't see it, but, it took me a long time to see Jaws. And unsurprisingly, it was fucking amazing. It was brilliant, and again, unsurprisingly, and I kind of, sometimes I do curse myself and I go, really, I should have watched this years ago, or why have I left it so long? But yeah, it's just kind of part and parcel of who I am. It's not necessarily a bad thing, I saw Oppenheimer, I saw Barbie, recently. Nathan's like, oh, you need to see more new films. I'm like, I do watch new films. I do. It's just
they need to make more better new films, don't they, really, to be quite honest with you?
Quality good films. Like this, I've talked about it on when we did the last stop on the hype train with the Goodfellas. Again, like unsurprisingly, absolutely adored that film. And I will get around to it, but there's a lot of stumbling blocks as well. Like there's the length of a lot of films. I'm like, again, if it's a good film, then the length doesn't really matter. But if you don't know if you're going to enjoy it, this is why I've not kind of watched the extended version of The Lord of the Rings. Because again, wasn't a massive fan when I watched them first time.
Yeah.
Do I need an additional 2 hours on top of something that I didn't really like? Maybe.
I say you do, but
we'll get around to them, I'm sure. You're going to pick them, aren't you, Phil?
It's going to be one discussion. One discussion. All 12 hours of the Lord of the Rings extended version. One discussion. Maybe we could do that for a 100th episode special, maybe, when they're all in grey.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so there are other things, if people are telling me, you've got to watch it, I've got to watch it. I'm like, do I have to? Is it really that good? Like, I don't believe people sometimes when they're like, again, I guess it is kind of hyping it up a little bit for some people. Like it's, when people say it's the greatest movie I've ever seen, it's the greatest performance I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I kind of go, that's subjective. I'm like, is it going to be? And now you've told me that, I'm going in expecting this. I'm going in expecting greatness.
Yeah. So you get weighted down by expectations and
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, with films like this, again, I'm not adverse to seeing them, not adverse to watching them, and again, I enjoy them a lot of the time. Not all of them, absolutely, but
Mm.
when I do, go right, and again, it's like that's most of a day gone. Like this was 2 hours 50 minutes, so this is almost three
Was.
hours.
Did you
You know,
watch
it's
the
a
director's cut version?
I did. Yes, that is
Good,
the director's cut version.
good. Yeah,
I listened to you. I was like, right, I'm gonna find that version. I'm gonna get that
yeah.
version. Um, and I did, and I finally saw Gladiator. And again, it was part of this. You're a big fan of these kind of historical epics.
And
So
when they're done well.
yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah.
So I was a bit tentative because again, I'm like everyone's told me how good it is. Everyone's quoted it. I've seen the
Mm.
scenes. I've done the gamut of Gladiator, and that's why that's why I try and wait as well. I tend to, if someone's talking about it or spoiling it or and I
Mm.
kind of want to leave it long enough that I forget a little bit, at least a little bit of
Yeah.
like certain spoilers and things. Um, and that's kind of why a lot of the time I'll leave it. So, but yes, I finally got round to Gladiator. I sat down, strapped on my sandals, and jumped into the Colosseum with all the tigers and various armored
Yes.
giants that I would have to
Armored,
deal with.
armored crazy men.
Yeah, I
Um,
I did it. I did it.
So was there anything specific in it, like with this film? Was it the cultural significance? Because obviously you mentioned like the iconic lines. I'm
Hmm.
guessing you're referring to my name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, and the whole fucking
Hmm.
shtick of people ripping that off, and are you not entertained? And the various memes
Yeah, exactly. All the
and
all the kind of big, like I knew all of them when he said them. I was like, oh, he's going to say it here.
mm,
This is where he says it. Like I know the shot, I know the composition of the shot, I know the
yeah.
background, I know what he's wearing.
That must be difficult. Because obviously it has been replayed that many times.
Hmm.
Say you recognize the shot immediately. That must be a bit difficult because does it not take away, the
I
impact of it
guess
for you?
a little bit. I go, oh, okay, here comes the line.
Yeah.
But again, like they're not bad lines. They're good lines. They're like
Mm.
quality. But again, when we watch Goodfellas, the scene again, I've seen the, do you think I'm funny? And
Yeah.
the get your fucking
Go get
shine
your
box, like
go get your shine box.
get your fucking shine box. But my favorite scene in that was the one that again nobody plays because it's just the mum and them all sitting around and looking at the fucking painting with the two
Yeah.
dogs. Like
Yeah.
that was my favorite scene because it was joyful, it was fun, and it was again something I'd never seen. It was totally original,
Mm.
and again, it was a softer, smaller moment, a less grandiose moment in
Yeah.
that film. And again, so I think like I was surprised. I thought it was I knew it was going to be a kind of revenge piece because again, a father to a
Mm.
murdered son, husband to a murdered wife.
Yeah.
You it's going to
It's the
be
element of Shakespeare in the film, isn't it? That
Oh,
moment.
absolutely. It's very grand and, like I said, grandiose. I think is a good term.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought it was kind of going to be a bit more of a straight revenge thing. But
Yeah.
actually, I quite enjoyed with Gracchus and Derek Jacobi's character.
Yeah.
I loved all the political kind of manipulation and Connie
Mm.
Nielsen and what she's doing and her storyline. Again,
See, that's
stuff
why
I
I
don't.
wanted you to watch the extended version because there's more
Yeah.
of the director's cut
Mm,
around Connie Nielsen's character and also, more stuff to do with the Senate and
yeah.
things like that. So they try and influx a bit more. And Ridley Scott did the same thing with another film that's on your list, Kingdom of Heaven. Exactly the same thing. The studio fucking butchered it to focus on the fucking battles. In actual
Mm,
fact, there's some really interesting character scenes and character moments, and even more moments that add to the religious aspect of
mm,
why the fucking Crusades. I mean, it's the Crusades. How can you not have
mm,
the religion in it? And in the director's cut, there's more of that religion. Is God actually here in this place? Is he molding these people? Is he playing the pieces? Um, I think Ridley
mm.
Scott's director's cuts in regards to those ones are actually this and Kingdom of Heaven. They're more essential and more accessible than the fucking cinematic versions, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and
It
again,
it
that's
does
the
it
way.
does yeah, I guess it does happen. I know. I always would prefer to look at the director's cut. If someone says that there's a director's cut, I'm most likely going
Mm,
to go there.
yeah,
Um, though there are some films like
Well,
like
indulgent directors.
yeah, like I don't need like the original cut of Apocalypse Now is my favorite. Like, the
Hmm?
Redux I thought was garbage. All the stuff they added nothing,
It's the only
utter
version I've
garbage.
found. I think it's the only version I've
Yeah,
seen as well, to be fair.
the Redux, the redo, or
Yeah.
whatever they call it. Yeah, I've got the original. I can send you the original. I think it's a lot more kind of it's more straightforward, and it
Mm.
focuses on the kind of journey into the heart of darkness and the
Yeah.
relationship between Martin Sheen and Colonel Kurtz, Marlon Brando's
Mm.
character. I'll send it you. I'll send it.
Yeah.
I'll send it in the post. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad I watched that then, because I actually thought that stuff was, again, it's I think outside of that, the film's relatively quite straightforward. It's
Yeah.
not.
It doesn't ask too much of you, does it?
No, it's like it's quite. I don't want to use the word simple. I think straightforward's a better word. It is kind of A to B, but it's solid A to B. It is
Yeah.
good, even great A to B.
Yeah.
Again, I completely understand. I like, all the actors are. I think the actors are all phenomenally cast. I
Yeah.
think they're all brilliant.
I don't think
Um,
there's a single miscast. It took me a while. I will say it took me a while to appreciate Joaquin Phoenix in it. I don't know what
I
it was.
agree.
I think it's a testament to actually his acting in the film. I didn't like him for so long, and I don't know why. I put it down to him, put it down to Joaquin Phoenix. But in actual fact, he's that fucking brilliant of an actor that you fucking loathe him
Mm.
completely throughout it. And obviously, I fucking love the character now. I think he does it so well. There's so many brilliant
I had a,
moments of megalomania in there.
Mm.
He's almost like a cartoon villain in a way with some of the actions he does. But then, it's the childness, the the childlike nature of his
Yeah,
impatience, he wants this here and now, and if he doesn't get it, he's gonna throw a fucking tantrum. I like that. I've grown to appreciate that over the years of watching it every so often. Um, when I actually I hated him, but I hated Joaquin Phoenix for it. I don't know why. I don't know why. But like I said,
yeah,
I think it's just he played it so well that you just go, you little fucking shit.
yeah.
Kind of like
Like kind
Joffrey
of.
Baratheon. You
Mm.
hate Joffrey, and you hated Joffrey in the same way that you hated him. And when you saw
I
his face, you
read
go, "Oh, you little
actually.
fucker."
I read the actor playing Joffrey was inspired by Commodus and
Yeah, and
Joaquin's
you can see it.
performance.
You can
Absolutely.
see it.
I kind of understand what you're saying, because initially I was like, I don't buy this. I'm not
Yeah,
into this character, the way he's performing it. I'm not here for it. It's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm just oh, he's brought us together again, my sister. I imagine he's dying,
yeah,
isn't he? He's gonna give us the throne. It will be mine and stuff. And then I'm like, I don't get it. And
yeah.
but this is the interesting thing about this film, and very impressive. They went in basically without script,
Mm.
effectively, because it was written by the writer of Amistad, and then Ridley Scott was like, "No, don't like your dialogue; it's shite. We're going to rewrite it." Uh, and then, interested, like thinking about this, like it's millions of dollars, and it's a big historical epic, lots of moving parts, a lot of organization, choreography,
Yeah,
and again, it's not CGI characters. These are real men in armor in the
yeah,
forest, in the dark of the forest, in the cold, on horses. There's the real fire. They actually burnt down that forest because it was
yeah.
like
The
ready
Forestry
for
Commission wanted
destruction.
to destroy the forest, and Ridley Scott was like, "I'll do it for you. As
I'll
long as you
burn
let
it
me set, as
down.
long as you let me set it on fire, I'll do it for you." They're like, "Yeah, go
Exactly.
for it."
And again, like
Money.
that, I kind of miss that. I kind of miss the element, the kind of real
Yeah,
element of
the raw reality of actually seeing
yeah,
people in armor fighting. I mean, when you look at the battle scene, when you scrutinize it, there's a lot of things when you like pause it, which I often do with battle scenes. You can see people just standing around and milling about. That's a byproduct of it being, real extras in there, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
just shooting and
They,
rolling constantly
those
and bringing
extras
it
might
back.
not know they're on camera at any one
Yeah,
point,
exactly.
unless
But
they're told, "Well,
yeah,
you're right, we can see you. You're on camera."
but
Um,
it that opening scene is one of the great opening scenes of any sword and sandals movie. And I
Yeah.
don't really want to call it a sword and sandals movie because it's not really in a way.
No,
It's
no,
not in the
it's
classic sense of well, look at us eating grapes and fucking drinking from goblets and we're trolling the deserts and things like that.
yeah.
It's much more realistic in its portrayal of
Yeah.
that time period. Um, and
I did
the battle
I
sequence
did
just
read.
brings you in. That battle sequence brings you in because you're like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
It's it's ridiculous how over the top the amount of stuff that they use in the battle. They've got fucking, like you said, they've got horses, they've got fucking not trebuchets, they fucking catapults,
Yeah.
they've got
Giant
ballistas.
crossbows, all
Yeah, the
that sort of
fucking
stuff.
ballistas.
Yeah.
Like, why are you using these against people? But it's the sheer power and might of the Roman army. It's like brute force submission. They just fucking pile on, and that wide angle shot you get when it's sort of panning and they're in the midst of battle and you can see the flames and the explosions in the background as they're just fucking launching everything. That is a fucking brilliant,
Mm.
beautiful shot. It's just, and it's like you just sit there and go, "Fuck me!" No wonder the Roman Empire, and because you believe it because we all know the power of the Roman Empire.
Mm.
They just walked over everything, and eventually became their downfall. But it's just the sheer overwhelming might, and you sit there and go, "Fucking hell, this is insane." It,
When did Saving Private Ryan come out? Was that
98, so this came out 2 years later. So I
I
gave
was
you
g-
you can see the sort of the similarities between it, kind of
yeah.
like the raw sort of just fucking amount of shit going on in it.
Yeah, it's very
I don't
much
think it's any
the war
mistake.
is hell type thing, isn't
Yeah,
it? Like
yeah,
because it's like because it is like I didn't think it would be quite as brutal and violent as it was.
yeah.
Like because I don't know. I just thought obviously I knew it was about gladiators, so there was going to be some violence. But like
Mm.
when the fucking limbs are coming off, the heads are coming off and shit, I was like, fuck, right, okay, now we're in. But it doesn't like it's almost like some sort of horror film, like someone's
Yeah.
hacking away at things, but it's not. It's but in a sense it is because it's showing war as hell. And
Mm.
again, there's people like breaking down and crying and
Yeah.
like you can see like PTSD has already started. Like not even it's not
Yeah.
even post traumatic stress. It's like traumatic stress at that
Yeah.
time, like ongoing. And yeah, I have to agree. It's one of the I think it's excellent. Just superb. I think the storytelling as well, like the editing, is just it
Yeah.
was on par. But again, like they went they went in without a script and they went in
That
with
does that.
no idea where this story was going to go. Obviously, it was based on. Obviously, it's not historically
No,
accurate
it's not.
be-
It plays a
uh,
lot of liberties with the time period. Commodus isn't. Yeah, he was a poor emperor, and he did. He was pretty much the catalyst for the entire fall of the empire. In sort of like the initial terms, that just believing his own fucking hype and all this kind of stuff. Um, the god mechanics in his mind.
mm,
Um, but again, it's not historically accurate in
no,
the sense of this happened kind of thing.
mm,
The imagery we get is historically accurate.
yeah.
Um,
But like
the breadth and scope of it.
it's historically accurate to a point. It
Yes. Yeah.
like Commodus was a thing. He was assassinated. He did do
Yeah.
gladiatorial battles. That he did like all of this stuff sort of happened to a degree.
Yeah.
So like the last kind of Roman Empire film I did was Caligula, which like
What a contrast.
exactly like
Yeah.
absolutely completely different films. But the what surprised me about Caligula is that film is absolute madness,
Mm.
but a lot of it is accurate, like
Yeah.
100%. Like he was fucking insane. So again, with all the mad stuff Commodus is doing, because I've seen Caligula, I'm like, yeah, probably is true. Probably is
Mm.
true.
Yeah.
But I didn't read up on it before I watched it, so I didn't know if it was historically accurate or if it was just
Yeah.
set within that era and that time
Yeah.
within the Roman Empire. But again, the more I've read up on it after seeing it, the more I'm like, oh my god, it is quite similar in that regard to
Yeah.
Caligula. That the mad stuff that you think, oh, this is not true. There's no way this is true that
Yeah.
a ruler would get into the gladiatorial arena and fight a gladiator. There's
Mm.
no fucking way. And then you go, oh no, that was true. That's
Yeah.
definitely true. So, and again, I guess truth is stranger than fiction,
Yeah.
but yeah, that opening scene is amazing. You've got like the dog running after him. You've got
Yeah.
that wonderful speech like he gives, the kind of, and again, the literally Ridley Scott and Russell Crowe would talk like 5 minutes before, and like, I'm going to say this. I think I'll do this. What
Yeah.
do you think about this? How's this? And they go, yeah, sounds good. Change that. Change this. We'll do
Yeah.
it. You know, the little prayer he gives for his tells he prays for his wife and his son and their
Mm.
safety. You know, he improvised that, and like
He
and
did a lot of
Russell Crowe.
improvising in this film. A lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
improvising. So there's a bit later on when he's describing his home. He's describing like the fields and the smells of the gardens and
mm,
everything. The lavender coming in through the window. Well, he was describing his home in Australia. He was
yeah,
drawing from whatever his own personal life was to create these lines. And
mm,
I think that's what I really like about this film more than anything is that it is grandiose. It is massive in scope. It is massive in the distances they travel in such a short space of time. However, it is really, really tight and compact and character driven to the point where you get these little moments, like you say, the speeches, the descriptions of their home lives or what their hopes and dreams and fears are, and it keeps it grounded, keeps it tight and compact. So in amongst like the huge set and the huge Colosseum when they come in. I mean, what I've always liked is when we enter the Colosseum, we enter with them below them, so we see the sheer size and wonder of it. In a lesser film, it'd be, oh, here it is, here's everyone fucking
yeah.
milling about and
Mm,
all that. But we stayed with them for a lot of the film on ground level while they're, engaging in all of this, while they're in amongst the absolute fucking carnage. And then we draw away and it becomes, they're talking about how they're going to try and change the empire and what they need to do. And, how can this person do that? What can you do? What do you want to do when you get home? This kind of stuff. I like it how I like that. And I like it how it doesn't sort of detract away from either side
yeah,
of it. When we do get the epic battles in the arenas, we come away and then we seamlessly go into the character moments of, with Oliver Reed and even the moments with Richard Harris, where it's so tight, so clean and crisp. It's actors across the board at the absolute top of their game, fully invested in what they're doing, and a director absolutely on top of his game. It's all the pieces at the right point in time, all the CGI perfect at the right point in time, to the point where they go, well, we can use it to enhance, but it's not going to overwhelm. It's not going to be the entirety because we do need extras. We do need cardboard cutouts, but we're going to mix it in and mingle it together so that it works properly. You know, if this film had been made now, which is interesting considering what is coming up,
mm, mm,
um, and it'll be interesting to see what happens if this film was made now, most of that would be entirely CGI. And I don't think it would have the same grounded, real, raw feeling in it. And when
yeah,
I'm talking about what's coming up, obviously Gladiator 2 is coming, isn't it? The
mm,
sequel to this film. How the fuck they're doing it, I have no idea. All I know is that it features Connie Nielsen's son, um,
mm,
who we see in this film. What more with regards to that is, I have no idea. I guess we'll see. And obviously, it's Ridley Scott, isn't it?
yeah,
Russell Crowe doesn't have a fucking clue. He's not in it as far as we're aware. But there's been rumors of a sequel for years.
mm,
One of the rumors was that it was going to be set in the fucking in Roman hell at one point
mm,
with Russell Crowe attached, and it was what? What is this madness? Um,
yeah. I think I
so
heard about one that was like going to be set in like Desert Storm or something like that, like something really off the wall. I don't know, but again, that
yeah,
could be me making shit up. But
yeah.
there was like a time travel thing or
Oh, Jesus
or it
Christ.
was something about Russell Crowe from the Afterlife. Spoilers.
Yeah, that's what
You
I mean,
know,
like the Roman hell or Elysium,
yeah,
which is
something like
heaven.
that.
So it's like a cross between them. Um, but
Again, like we
mm,
were talking about, like again, you are correct. Like every actor, even the smallest parts, like Don Dijon Honsu, is that how
Yeah,
you say it?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
he's
Apologies
he's
for butchering his name,
wonderful.
but he is.
Yeah, yeah. Apologies for if I've said it wrong.
Yeah,
He has probably 5 minutes of screen time in the entire thing,
yeah.
and
It's an
he
understated performance, but it's bang on point. There's no
yeah,
beat missed.
like every they're both missing their families, they're lost, they're looking for connection, they're helping each other, they give each other advice and support, and again, it could quite easily be one of those things where it's like every man for himself and you're going to die. And
Mm,
but because he's this general, this man of men, that he can
yeah,
bring them together. Like that's the reason, Aurelius picks him, because he knows how to bring these men together and
yeah,
believe and fight for something. And then when Oliver Reed, oh, what's his name, Proxima,
yeah, yeah. Proxima.
um,
Fucking
when
love
he says,
Proxima.
yeah, so good, so good. When he says win the crowd,
Yeah,
like he knows already how to do it. He's already done this all of
yeah,
his life. And that is what saves him. If he didn't win the crowd, if he didn't, overcome those odds by bringing those men together, those very disparate, men, that have nothing in common apart from being slaves and being gladiators, if it was not for that, not for him, they would have all died. He would have died on the spot. If it wasn't for the
yeah.
crowd cheering for him, that would be the end of the film.
Mm,
But I love that he's reluctant to kind of like he's like, he knows he's in danger, and he's
yeah.
reluctant to take on this hero role. I'm not hero. I'm not this man that you think
No.
I am, or that you know. I think they're also that they're politicians and they're just moving the pawns a little bit in this
Yeah.
scenario,
They are. Yeah.
especially Connie Nielsen. Like she, obviously they've had a previous relationship, a romantic, but she really doesn't care all that much. She's worried about her son. She's concerned for her
Yeah.
son, because Commodus is like, oh, what did you say? You're the savior. You're being the savior of Rome. Maximus
Mm.
Decimus Meridius is the savior of Rome, and you're like, fuck. But going back to what you were saying about Joaquin Phoenix, I wasn't buying it initially, and
Mm,
it took me a little while to get into his performance. But I think this is the thing. Again, because there was no script, they had to do it all chronologically because
yeah.
they didn't know where it was going to go. So they had to like, okay, I'm going to talk about the Elysium in the first scene,
Mm,
and that's going to be a theme throughout up until the end, of course. And again, with losing the wife, losing the son, them being in Elysium,
yeah.
like though that's really again very impressive because almost no films are done chronologically, almost
Mm,
never. Like I probably couldn't even tell you 5 films off the top of my head that
yeah.
have been filmed chronologically because it just doesn't, it isn't done. It's just logistically a nightmare.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I think because he starts off, and again, he was very, very serious, very kind of method, very like there was one scene where apparently Russell Crowe, he was like, "I need you to beat me up before we do this scene to get me going," and he's like, fuck, I'm not doing that. I'm
What?
not gonna do that. I'm not gonna beat you up. And he goes to like Richard Harris or somebody else, Oliver Reed, and he's like, what do I do? Like this guy wants me to beat him up, and apparently I think they went and got him pissed, and then he
Yeah.
was like, no, he's ready. Let's go. Um, so like he was
Oliver Reed
very
getting people
intense.
pissed.
Yeah. There we go. We'll talk
Yeah.
about him. We'll talk about him and his drinking very soon, I'm sure.
Mm,
But like you're right, as he grows in power, as he grows in status, as he
mm,
grows more, like he's becoming more himself. Like it's almost like he's shy and reserved and like keeping it all bottled up. But when he gets, he gets the power, he has the lovely
mm,
hairdo, the Caesar style hairdo.
yeah.
He has the armor, he keeps the armor on.
Mm,
Um, he's believing his own myth, his own
yeah.
legend. He's growing. That ego is growing. And again, like his bloodlust in the gladiatorial games. He's like, I love this, and I don't
Yeah.
care people know that I love this. I am, I am here for this. I don't have to be whatever I want. I don't care about the politicians. Let's get rid of them. This is me. This is what I want to do, and this is what I like. And he revels in it.
Yeah.
Again, by the end of the film, I was sold. But the beginning, but I think because, again, chronologically, we are seeing that character progress and
Yeah.
grow. And I think because it starts where it does, and again, you're like, oh, he's a little weasel. I don't really like him. He's a bit sheepish. I do like when he has a go at his father and says, "You have these tenets. You have these." I can't remember what he says exactly, but these kind of rules or these things that you aspire to be. Justice,
Mm.
all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm persistent. I'm devious. I'm this. I'm that. And I was like, I thought that was really, really
Yeah.
good. I kind of was like, I get the kind of bosom strangling thing, but I kind of wish I felt like it needed to be a bit more aggressive. I don't know.
Yeah.
From that character, like he's finally just gone, no, I've had enough. Maybe snapped his neck or something. I get, because it's like, embrace me, embrace your father and all that. And
Yeah.
he does. And I get it, but I don't know. I kind of felt like it needed to, ratchet up a gear a little
Yeah.
bit. But I guess if his neck was snapped, they'd be like, he's clearly had his neck broken.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like,
He's not died in his sleep
this
peacefully.
isn't right at all.
But yeah, I get what you mean about his performance, but it did grow on me.
Yeah.
And I think if I watch this again, or when I watch this again, I will appreciate it all the more. I
Yeah.
think by the time I was at the end, I was like, yes, I'm with you. But
Mm.
it took that journey. It was such an arc, like such an incredible arc,
Yeah.
that it was only until the end that I realized how good the journey was.
Yeah. Good. Good. So you mentioned Oliver Reed.
Yes.
Now, obviously, one of the interesting sort of sad facts about the film is that he fucking died like before it finished, and he's such a charismatic actor. I think they had to change a vast sway of what was coming in the film for that character. Um, so what did you think about him as sort of like this mentor? What do you think about him, given what we know about Oliver Reed? And there's some things within this, trivia that he fucking hated Russell Crowe, which I find it's not surprising at all because Oliver Reed is very much uh, he was a singular person, wasn't he?
Mm.
I don't think there's ever been anyone like him.
I
And
think he's.
never
Do
will
you
be
remember
again.
when we talked about like Klaus Kinski when we did
Mm,
the Great Silence, and
yeah,
again he was a very difficult, very troublesome,
yeah,
problematic figure, but he could act the shit off of the scenes he was in.
yeah,
What I like about this, I like when the art imitates life. Like
yeah,
Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler.
yeah. God, yeah.
When
What a
it was like he had his troubles, his mental struggles. He was a
mm,
boxer. He ruined his life. He made a lot of bad decisions, did drugs, did all this,
yeah,
and 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 I feel like Oliver Reed's character is a reflection of who he was and where he
yeah,
was in his life. Like, I used to be great. I used to be this. I used to be amazing. I used to
yeah,
be somebody, and I knew how to entertain. I knew how to make the crowd roar, and I knew how to win them over.
yeah,
um and I think there's an inherent tragedy to that, and I think there's an inherent tragedy to knowing that Richard Harris wasn't too long for the world either,
yeah,
because he obviously dies in this, and then he does a couple of Harry Potter films and sadly dies as well.
yeah,
So I watched both of these with kind of that kind of eye, because I was like, I
yeah,
know they're not both, and both of them were kind of drinking buddies, and
yeah.
they're
They
both
were. Yeah.
both very fucking hard drinkers. These two,
Mm,
very much out of that kind of world of actors, that trove of actors that came up at that time. That's just what they did. Um, for better or for worse, that's just who they were. And yeah, and I love the stuff he's doing. Again, like they've done, I think they do it pretty well. Like I did feel a little
yeah,
disconnect I definitely felt like this doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah,
And again, I was like, I'm pretty sure he may have died during this. Again, I
yeah,
didn't look into it. I just went, let's just watch it, and I'll
yeah.
come back to that later. Um,
So
but I
there
think,
is there's a thing. Sorry
yeah,
to
go
butt in,
ahead.
obviously, but there's a thing. And I only read it quite recently. I've got it up here because I wanted to make sure I got it quite right. But because he was a key character, this is just straight off IMDb. There was a clause in the movie's insurance contract, apparently, which would have allowed the filmmakers to reshoot all of his scenes because he died, at the insurer's expense.
Wow.
Um, but obviously, a lot of the crew were fucking absolutely knackered
Mm,
by the grueling schedule and everything. So basically, they just went, we'll we'll change the script come the end." Because I think one of the ideas was that Commodus would make, so when they storm the compound, they seize everyone and make them fight. Um, one of the final things as like punishment was that Maximus would be made to fight Proximo. And obviously,
right.
Proximo being who he is, would say, well, that this is it. And you have to make a choice. You have to make a choice. And here you are. Like the choices that he says to him in the film, like,
Mm,
you have to decide what it is you want out of all of this, Um, and that would have been like the final sort of thing before Commodus sort of challenges him as well. But they just went, we can't do that. We can't do that. We'll rewrite it. We'll use the body double and
mm,
CGI. I think it was like one of the very first instances of CGI, being used for a for a full character model in a way. I mean, it does feel a bit janky, and I think
sure, sure.
obviously everyone knew about it anyway. I don't think they shied away from it. To be fair, I think they were
No,
quite open about it. Um, but
but
it was
look at,
necessary. It was necessary rather than
yeah.
removing such a powerful performance. I think
Mm,
there's a great necessity to it. Um, I think when he says shadows and dust, I think that was the key phrase he was going to use in the
yeah.
Colosseum when they're fighting each other. He says,
We are
we're
those
all shadows
shadows
and
and dust.
dust," and
Yeah.
obviously he says it when the soldiers stab him,
Mm,
which I think is very Caesar-like, isn't it? He gets
mm,
stabbed in the back by all these soldiers. So I think they altered it to make him, to turn Proximo into this figure, this figure of change. Even though he doesn't directly impact anything, he does give the impetus to
yeah.
Maximus to fucking just take hold and
Mm,
become the person he should become. Obviously, he becomes a fallen martyr, if you will, but
mm,
it still changes and gives it the
yeah.
same impact.
I'm glad they kept it because I don't recasting happens, but I think Oliver
Mm,
Reed, like I was saying, he fits that role and he fits that,
yeah.
again,
It
that
is
old
him, like you said.
entertainer.
It is him,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it
It
is
is
him.
him. And
Like,
I'm pretty sure Ridley Scott sold it to
mm,
him like that.
mm,
This is fucking you. It's you.
mm, mm. Yeah,
Do it.
exactly. You're in your twilight years, you're training the youngsters, you're passing on that knowledge that, but also you don't particularly care for them either. Um, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
you're just a fucking lambasted me for the Richard Harris
yeah,
time. He's great. You know, no, he's a prick.
yeah. I know, again, I noticed it because just structurally and story-wise and editing, it
Yeah.
just felt a bit off. There was just again, not bad, not poor, not, I'm not going, oh, this is the
Mm,
worst. It's not, it's not Superman's mustache or anything like that.
mm,
It's it worked because it needed to work.
yeah.
Ideally, yeah, it could have been done better, and I think they used the tools available for them at the time to do what they needed to do. And I think his death still works. I think it's still
Yeah.
powerful. He hands him the keys, lets him out. He goes, they're using lines and they're, changing to the background and what have you to get him to fit in. I think it works. Again, unfortunately he didn't finish what he needed to finish,
Yeah.
and they've cribbed a way to have him in and have him go out in a good way, in a positive way,
Mm,
and still have an effect on Crow's character.
yeah. But it's the Back
With
to the Future thing, isn't it? In an alternate universe, there is a
mm,
different ending. There's a different structure entirely,
mm.
whereby we have him do this fucking gladiatorial arena ending.
But also,
Um,
also, would it have worked?
exactly,
Like,
that's the thing. That's the crux.
that's the thing.
I was
Like,
reading
do
about
you
it,
want to
like the
see
structure.
fat old Oliver Reed
Yeah.
against Russell Crowe in
To
his
be fair,
absolute peak.
I don't think they would have fought. I think it would have been a case of,
He falls on his own sword, or he says,
yeah,
"Kill." He drops his
well,
sword and says,
shadows
"Just
and
kill me."
dust,
Yeah,
shadows and dust.
yeah, maybe. Yeah. I will say, I think again, going back to the use of CGI, like you were saying earlier, I think it is done well.
Yeah,
They don't linger on it. They don't make too much of it. The Colosseum, I think, looks fantastic. It holds up
yeah,
24 years later. The tigers being in there and being kind of screened in and
yeah.
composited,
Because they
whatever
had
you
them. I
call it.
think they had them about 15 feet away from the actors and shot
Mm,
them. Shot the reactions similar to
yeah,
what they were, and then just kind of compressed it.
yeah.
You know,
And it works like
yeah,
when the pits open and they jump out, you're like, oh
yeah.
fuck. And you've already got the Ben-Hur chariots coming in as well. And
Yeah.
that woman gets absolutely
Someone
obliterated.
gets cut in half, just
Just gets
shredded.
fucking. I was like somebody's gonna get like I thought he was one of the heroes. I thought maybe
Yeah,
the big German guy. I love that big German guy. I think his name was Mueller. I think in real
yeah,
life, something Mueller.
yeah,
He's great. Like he is
yeah.
wonderful. He's funny. He's charming. I like when
When
he
he
when
when
he.
he eats the pudding, he's like, oh, 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 oh.
I love that. I love that though. But I love that there's moments of like this is quite a serious film, but there are moments of fun and levity and
Yeah,
charm to these characters as well.
because
Like
it's played human. It's played
yeah,
very human. Like,
yeah. It works. It absolutely works. It's not like, oh, we're slaves, or it's the
yeah,
worst thing
oh,
ever.
we're
Like
all gonna die.
they find joy in their lives where they can, and they
Yeah,
take it and they enjoy it. And camaraderie and brotherhood and all this stuff. But yeah, if we're talking about action sequences, that scene in that first battle in the Colosseum,
mm.
where they absolutely like just got the chariots going, the tigers come out, what have you. I think that's the same. That's the same battle, is it, with the chariots and the
No,
tigers, or is that two separate ones?
the tigers come out with the guy
Oh
who's
shit, yeah.
the Tigers
Oliver
of Thor, whatever his fucking
Thor
name is.
Olverson, or
Yeah,
yeah, one,
yeah,
yeah, Arnie's mate.
yeah. When he
Yeah,
gives the
because he has
thumbs
the
down, he just
tiger.
goes,
Yeah, he has the
"Fuck
tiger
yourself."
mask and everything,
Yeah,
doesn't he? Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. But that still looks great. Still looks
yeah.
amazing. Still works.
Mm.
But yeah, the chariots is amazing. I mean, I was I was watching it and I was like, this is really similar to something I've seen. What could it be? Oh yeah, Planet Hulk. I
Yeah,
was like, oh yeah, it's exactly the plot of Planet Hulk, which
yeah, exactly.
it's unsurprising, isn't it, really?
Yeah,
But I enjoy that. And again, each battle that kind of ramps up a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah, but the CGI looks and it works because it's minimal, but it enhances things. But you are right; they never go. This is going to replace everything. Actors, background. No, they
yeah,
go to the forest. They go to wherever they need to go to, and
yeah.
they work it out. They find a way to do it. I'm not a massive fan of Ridley Scott stuff. I think I'm more of a Tony Scott fan myself.
Yeah,
I
I think it's a bit. He's been a bit up and down, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's made some absolute fucking gems, and there's been some absolute.
Don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore Alien. I adore Blade
Yeah,
Runner. The final cut, just to
yeah.
clarify.
Well, there you go.
Uh,
So, yeah, there we go. Another
yeah,
fan of it.
another director's cut for him.
Mm,
But yeah, the last few years it's been pretty wobbly. So
yeah.
I don't have a high hopes for Gladiator 2 after seeing Prometheus and
To be
Alien.
fair, expectations are quite low, I think, for me. I'm interested to see what they do, obviously, but
Mm.
expectations are firmly on the shelf with it.
I think for me, Tony Scott was always consistent.
Yeah,
Like you get a very, very, very good film, maybe not a great film, but then he'd follow it up with a very, very, very good film as well. Like it would be solid. You get what you want from it. His technique. His style.
yeah.
Um, True Romance is probably my favorite film.
Talk about it.
Beverly Hills, Beverly Hills Cop 2 is a favorite of
Yeah.
mine. Top Gun. You know, just anything with Denzel Washington in that he did.
Mm,
Deja Vu I think is great. I think that's really underrated, Deja Vu. But yeah, I'm a big fan of his. I get it, Ridley Scott, and I understand where people are coming from. But for me,
mm,
I'm more of a Tony Scott guy. But again, that's just me.
yeah.
But yeah, shocker, Andy. I loved it. Shocker, I know,
Well,
right?
that was going to be my next question. What are your thoughts on it? Obviously, you've been gushing about it, but in
Hmm.
terms of, are you surprised by how much you enjoyed it?
I I was a little bit. Again, I'm not I'm trepidatious, I think, when it comes to things like this, because I
Yeah.
think, I think again, the length I'm going in going, is he gonna is he gonna grab me? Am I gonna be on board
Yeah.
for it? Is it but again, it could be one of those old sword and sandal crap ones, the crap kind of sword and sandal stuff, the 50s, 60s stuff, where it
Like
was just like,
Alexander starring Colin Farrell. Good God, that's an awful film.
well, this is what I was going to say. Like, this was so influential. You don't get your King Arthur's, your Kingdom of Heavens,
No,
your
Troy.
Alexanders, your Troys.
Yeah.
I know some of these are great, and some of these you love, and some of them are bad. Like, I
Mm.
love Troy. I thought Troy was great. I
Troy's
still enjoy Troy.
hilarious. I
Yeah,
like
it's
Troy. I
good
like
fun.
Troy
It's good
in
fun.
parts.
Yeah, it's good fun. I like it's not something I took very seriously when
Mm.
I first watched it, and neither and I'm big into my Greek myths anyway, and it was kind of
Yeah.
playing a lot of that. Yeah,
Brad
I had a
Pitt's
lot of
just
fun with it.
far too buff for that film. He look it looks stupid how buff he is. It's like
Like,
Achilles could have been a bit trimmer and it'd still be okay.
yeah,
Um,
a couple of my friends I did panto with, they always laugh at one of the insults in that film.
sack of wine.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Sack of wine. It's like,
Why is that an
is
insult?
that an insult? Is that an insult? I wouldn't mind a sack of wine. Sack of wine's good. What's wrong with a sack of
Bring it
wine?
on over.
I'm
Yes,
like,
Achilles.
I guess he's saying like he's a fat drunk, basically, is what he's
Yeah.
saying. But it's just a
But
weird way of going about it.
even so, it's like, come on.
I don't know if I've told you this, Sandy, but I went to see this with my dad and his business partner at the time.
Hmm.
And we went. It was very like a lads thing, and we went. And that opening scene where Tyler Mane, the guy who plays Sabretooth in X-Men,
Yeah.
huge fucking guy. My sister bought me a cameo from him. He was
Yeah.
Rob Zombie's Michael Myers as well. He's they have to have a battle. It's just the two. They're like mono y mono,
Yeah.
and Brad Pitt just starts like fucking running at him
Yeah.
like Tom Cruise or something, and all of a sudden he just like throws this javelin, and it just fucking like takes him off his feet, kills him. My dad's business partner, he jumped up and like had like just kind of a visceral reaction to it, like he was like,
Yeah.
oh, like that. And I was laughing. I was like, what? Like, it's like not even. It's not anything. That's hardly. It's not like a horror film or something. What are you so scared of? And my dad turned around. And he was like, he was in the Falklands, Dan. Maybe don't bring
Fucking
anything. Like,
hell.
I was like, fuck. I was like, oh god. I was like, that's his fucking PTSD coming through. I was like,
Somebody
shit.
getting
I was like,
skewered from range. It is,
yeah. I was
you
like,
know,
fuck. I was like, I'm gonna be quiet now for the
I'm
rest of the film.
I'm not going to enjoy this film at all.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make fun of the poor man to the left or right of me wherever he was sat. I was just
Uh,
like, but I was like, yeah, it's in the Falklands, so yeah, don't bring anything up or laugh at
Jesus
him.
Christ.
I was like, I knew of I didn't know the ins and outs of the Falklands, but
Yeah.
I was like, that's a war, isn't it? Yeah, maybe
Mm.
don't talk about it. But
Mm.
but again, these films, there wasn't an overabundance of CGI. Like,
Mm.
people talk about the Lord of the Rings and then the Hobbit movies, and the
Yeah,
difference between them and the problems with those Hobbit movies.
exactly.
Um, and yeah, but I a lot of people have said, this is again won Academy Awards, huge box office,
Yeah.
massively influential. I get it. I absolutely 100% get it. It's one of the best films of this style, of this type, that I've
Yeah,
seen.
it is.
Um,
It is because they as quickly as they came, the Sword and Sandals revival, they vanished as well. They vanished, and again, because the overabundance of CGI and poor stories, and that's what sets Gladiator apart, is because it's its own mythology in a way, and it wears everything firmly on its chest.
yeah,
It says this is what we are, and this is the story we're telling, and it's competent throughout.
mm,
There's nothing really that you can point to and say that's a massive weak link.
yeah,
Whereas other films that have followed in its wake, they do have huge, weak links in them that just don't quite have the same impact. Culturally and cinematically, they just don't have the same impact.
I, I, again, we've described it as a historical epic, but
Hmm.
the word epic can also be kind of like a descriptor, an
Yeah,
adjective in regards to quality. But I do think this is epic.
yeah,
While, like you said, it has an epic scale, an epic scope. It is, you know, the rise or fall of the Roman Empire. Not quite there, but you know what I
yeah,
mean. That kind
yeah.
of, again, grandiose. We use that word, but also the minutiae of it is a
Hmm.
man who's had everything taken away, and again, all the spectacle, all the massive battles, the tigers, the chariots, all of that doesn't matter in the end because deep down at the core of this film, there is a very strong performance, there is a very strong desire, and simple and brilliant storytelling. Again, I don't want to use the word simple, but straightforward, strong
Yeah.
storytelling. And again, everybody's firing at all cylinders, all the actors. Um, Again, like I think people can probably maybe pick the dialogue apart and be like, "Oh, it's not that complex," or it's not as intricate as maybe something like a Chris Nolan film or something. I don't know, but
It doesn't need to
from
be.
it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need
Gets
to
its
have the
message
all the
across
yeah,
very, very well.
doesn't need all the bells and whistles. It doesn't need to be historically accurate. I know they tried to be historically
Yeah.
accurate, and the experts walked away from the film. They were like, "Take my name off it. I don't want anything to do with it. It's
Yeah.
nothing. It's got nothing to do with ancient Rome. It's bullshit." But again, I
Then
don't.
you had Connie Nielsen, who's actually
Yes,
a big lover of ancient Rome. So
yeah,
she basically took over
I,
providing, information. She went out and found props for herself. She went into
yeah.
an antique shop and bought a ring that was 2,000 years old, so she could use it for a
Jesus,
character. Um,
wow.
you she
There's been
she ended up becoming sort of like the historical sort of person. And it's not historically accurate in terms of
sure.
this
Who
happened at
cares?
this time, this happened at that time, but
I don't care.
it still has to
Create
have, it still has to have,
creative license.
yeah.
Creative license.
I mean, there's been
Like
a lot said about Ridley Scott and his historical accuracies with the fucking Napoleon film, which I've still not seen. To be fair, again, Joaquin Phoenix back in it, I've still not seen it.
mm,
It came out at the wrong time for me. But you know, it's all about storytelling, isn't it? So you do have to take
yeah.
creative license at some point. And if the storytelling is as good as it is in this film, then surely that wins over because all it did was, like we said, it reignited this fascination for the era. It reignited this fascination for ancient Greek mythology, fantasy films, the Crusades, things like that. It reopened that fascination. It became huge. We had spin-off shows as a result. Over the coming years, we had Spartacus, Blood and Sand. We had, Lord of the Rings was being created at the same time, which opened up even more doors and
There
gateways. So
was the
we had realistic, we
Rome
had
was a show,
realistic,
I think, as well, wasn't
yeah,
it?
Rome,
Rome.
yeah.
Yeah,
We
that
had
came out.
realistic fantasy, and then we had, you know, the very out there fantasy with Lord of the Rings, all
Yeah.
running along at the same time, creating, a perfect balance of of cinematic experiences with swords, sandals, shields, horses, fucking dragons. We had all of it at that point in
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
Um, uh, you could draw parallels with superhero movies in terms of what they
Sure.
did, but obviously there's no counterpoint with superhero movies, which is where this whole idea of the fatigue is coming in because
Mm.
essentially fantasy films and the sword and sandals epics like Gladiator, they had a very short lifespan. Again, they fell away very quickly, like we've said, probably for the best, to be fair.
Mm.
But again, I think, like I said, a lot of it was due to poor returns for a number of the films. They just didn't cut the mustard. Um,
Mm.
but I'm just
Absolutely.
looking at the just dead quickly looking at the sequel cast for Gladiator
Oh,
2.
Cause let's face it, baby, these days, you gotta have a sequel. Ah! Ah!
So it is. I'm sure it's out this year, which is baffling to me. Um, Fucking hell. Is it back end of this year it's out or is it next year? I don't know. It doesn't say actually. Um, No, it does say 2024. Good Lord. So Connie Nielsen is back in it.
Cool.
Derek Jacobi's back in it as well as Gracchus. Denzel Washington is in the cast. That's an interesting
Okay.
one.
Okay.
And we've got Paul Mescal playing Lucius, so obviously the kid in this in Gladiator.
Hmm.
He's obviously grown up, and then you've got Pedro Pascal as well.
Wow.
So
Okay.
Denzel Washington, Pedro Pascal are unnamed characters at this point.
Hmm.
So take from that what you will.
Hmm. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
the only element of plot it says follows Lucius, the son of Maximus's love, Lucilla, after Maximus's death.
Hmm.
So that's as vague as you want to fucking get.
I going back to Connie Nielsen, I think you're right. I think she has a wonderful arc. I love that line from Russell Crowe when he says, "You're a great survivor."
Yeah.
Like, because she can't be a Caesar, she can't be a leader of Rome because she's
No.
a woman. And she's lost her husband, she's got a son, and she'll manipulate and use people, and move the pawns as necessary. And that's there's there's some implied kind of incest stuff as well there,
Mm.
as which
Yeah.
is it's a bit odd and a bit creepy, but again, I don't think you'd probably get that today, maybe, but I guess it would depend on the film, the making, and the scripts and what
Yeah.
have you. But I think she's wonderful in this. I
Yeah.
think she's a quality actor, and yet you can see Queen Hippolyta as well,
Yeah.
like when she's cast in Wonder Woman, you know,
Mm.
like she commands that presence. She has that regal quality. The way she carries herself, the way she holds herself. Like you said, she's a there's that meme going around that, how many times do men a day think about the Roman Empire? Well, Connie Nielsen thinks
Yeah.
about it every fucking day. So it's not just men thinking about it. Connie
Exactly.
Nielsen,
Exactly.
legend she is, she's doing it too.
Yeah.
It's everything. Every time I think of the waterworks and the pipes and the plumbing and the roads, that's every time I look at one, I kind of sort of half think about the stuff that the Romans gave us, for
Yeah.
good or bad, you know. But yeah, wonderful performance from her, and yeah, I'm so glad she's in it. I'm so glad they give the casting director. I don't know if do we do Oscars for casting?
No.
We probably should. If it was this, I'd be like, yeah, give that casting director a fucking raise. Give her
Yeah.
an award. Give him an award. Whoever it was, give them something, a pat on the
Yeah.
back, whatever. Because just like it's and again, not all of them were particularly big stars at the time, but they would
No.
go on to greatness.
Yeah.
But again, just wonderful. Just everything you want in this kind of film is in here. You've got the quiet, sensitive moments, the charming, funny moments. You've got the grand, epic scale of the times and the politics and the way the people are treated,
Yeah.
and their the techniques for obtaining power, using power. I'll be honest, when I got to the end, I almost cried. Um, Again, I think I'm a bit of a sucker for when a character is down, or I think it might come from Spider-Man 2 a little bit.
Yeah.
After the train battle, and they all because again, Spider-Man in that as we know it, not so much in the Sam Raimi films, but
Yeah.
as we know him normally, he's kind of feared and hated. Is he a hero? Is he a
Yeah.
menace? So that moment for me was quite touching. Again, he's no older than my son, even though he looks like a 40-year-old man. You know, don't get me wrong. There's
He's no
and
older than my son.
he's no
He's
older
at
than my
least
son.
30.
How old are you? And his little nephews come over, his actual nephews
Yeah.
in real life, give him his mask, and again, I love that moment where it's like they're all again. It's better than the scene in the previous film where it's like, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
Yeah.
That whole sequence on the bridge. I was like, okay, okay.
Yeah. There's
But
ways of doing that.
yeah, and that's why Spider-Man 2 is like head and shoulders above the other Sam Raimi
Yeah.
films. But like, I think when people say, "Look at him! Look what he sacrificed! Look what he's done for us," and
Yeah.
they go, and when Derek Jacobi went, "Who will help me carry him?"
Mm.
and again, there's a lot of kind of religious iconography there, and
Yeah.
Jesus and taking him down off the cross, all that sort of stuff. And again, we don't see him carried. It was just that line, and I went, "Oh fuck, you got
Mm.
me." Almost fucking had me, you prick.
Oh my
You
fucking
made me feel something.
God damn you, Ridley
But
Scott.
and I honestly didn't think I'd get to a point. And again, I was fully on board. I was invested. I was interested. I didn't look at my phone once. I didn't pause
Yeah.
it. I did actually. I went to the toilet once because it is 3 fucking hours.
Mm.
So I could give myself a break. But I was absolutely glued. All the performances, I was going to say the script writing, but there wasn't a script. So I shouldn't really give that plaudits. But again, it's mythical. It reminds me of those, those ancient myths where it is, it's a very straightforward story.
Yeah.
Hercules fights the Hydra, does the 12 labors, you know, that's all you need to know. You don't need to know the
Yeah.
ins and outs or the minutia. But you get that with this. You get the epic, you get the gladiatorial games, you get all the fun, over the top sand and sorcery and sandals or whatever. But at the core, it's a fundamentally broken human being who is
Yeah.
finding his way back, crawling out of this depression while being a slave.
Yeah.
The fortitude to be able to do that, to not only pull yourself out of your life basically being over, and then to almost again to have almost given power over Rome, and then
Yeah.
to fall again. It's like huge. Like you're starting at the top, you have the fall, and you have the rise again,
Yeah.
only for him to fall again. And I think it was the only way you could have ended the film. I think
Yeah.
there's no way he's coming out of this
No.
alive. And I got again, like when Commodus has figured it all out, and he's like, and gets Gracchus and gets everyone else, and like it's just all falling apart. I was just like, shit,
Yeah.
fuck, it was so close.
Yeah.
And like just as he gets outside, he's got the armor on, he's got his mate's there on the horse, and he's like, Maximus, and then he's just like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's just
and
fucking
it's
riddled with
it's
arrows. And it's like, no.
yeah, and you're just like, you almost fucking made it. And again, like the cowardice to not only say, "Oh, I'm going to fight you in the arena. Let's
Yeah.
do it. I'm going to shed your blood." The fact that he fucking, and again, because he goes to stab him in the arena when they first meet, and you have that
Yeah.
face off with I'm the father of a murdered son, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And he goes to pick up the arrow, and he palms the arrow so he can stab him.
Mm.
Because he knows this is it. There's no way
Yeah.
because he's like, "Oh, I'm Gladiator," and they're like, "What's your name actually? Take the mask off." And then Commodus knows that, he's seen that. And
Yeah.
I like when we see Commodus training. Like he's not just some pompous little weaselly prick. We see him training and fighting, and then we see him like, stand in front of those 2 soldiers that didn't tell him about Maximus not being dead.
Yeah.
And the bravery and I love that. Who's the soldier with the scarring who's part of the Praetorian Guard? He is great. He is
I can't
really
remember his
good.
name.
Yeah. He's in the beginning. He's like his second in command or third in command.
Quintus. Would you
Quintus, yeah.
Thomas Arana, yeah.
Wonderful,
People should know when they're
understated.
conquered. Would you, Quintus? Would I?
Like he's got a really like such an understated performance, but again,
Yeah.
my eyes were on him all the time
Yeah.
because of what he wasn't doing.
Mm.
Like that's acting. When I'm drawn to him and he's doing nothing, he's doing everything.
Yeah. Again, it's the film, isn't it? The entirety of the film. It's like that throughout. Even the pillow that Russell Crowe is lying on at the end of the film. Sorry.
Wonderful.
It's always tickled me that the pillow he's lying on in the middle of the battle arena. When he's dead. One other thing before we draw this to a close, because I think we've gushed long enough, haven't we? Did you spot the man with the jeans? So
like the one in Mandalorian.
Oh, it's legendary of that skill. So
I'm gonna have to look it up, I think.
Yeah. There's a point. I mean, uh, I don't think I saw it immediately when I first watched it. Obviously, I'm drawn in by everything else that's going on. But in terms of grade A fuck ups, in what is a brilliant masterpiece of a film, it's fucking superb. All it is like I think it's after the battle. I think
Mm.
no, it is after the battle. Beg your pardon. It's after the battle, so everything's coming down, and Russell Crowe's walking through what looks like a stable house kind of thing, and he's looking to his right, and he carries on walking. The camera sort of follows him, and underneath a horse, so you got the horse. You can just see two legs just walk backwards, and there's a pair of jeans. It's brilliant. It's fucking superb, but. Not to ruin the film at all, because it
No.
actually, again, it's another element of you go, okay, the film like you say, there's no fucking plan for this film. So obviously
Yeah.
they've gone, we're going to shoot this scene here. Let's go, quick, do it. And then that guy's up fucking, oh shit. Rather than if he stood still, you wouldn't fucking notice him. But because it
Yeah.
walks backwards out of shot, it's superb.
Yeah.
It's literally like the Mandalorian, but the Mandalorian was just stood still, isn't he? But
Mm.
weirdly enough, in this one, if he'd stood still, you would have thought it's just a stable hand or something,
Mm.
behind the horse. Brilliant, brilliant. But
No, I did not. I
um,
did not. Kind of
yeah,
those little details sometimes pass me by with stuff
no.
like that. Sorry, before we finish, Hans Zimmer's score as well is fucking
Well,
amazing.
yes, and
I just wanted to say that.
I didn't know until I was doing my little bits of research. That is one of the biggest selling movie scores ever, ever. I think the end title the titles the end credits song
Mm.
was a massive hit as well, like an absolute huge hit. So I mean, for Pirates of the Caribbean, I think they utilized some of the battle sequence music from the opening battle, as part of the score. Obviously that was Hans Zimmer as well, I think, wasn't it? But again, yeah, that score was huge. It was
Yeah,
massive.
massive.
So it sold. It was a huge hit.
Yeah, I just think it's wonderful. It's haunting and beautiful,
Yeah,
and again grandiose, yet intimate as well. Like
yeah,
it's fucking superb. Like I think like if an actor is looking for immortality, I think Russell Crowe has got it in this. Like
yeah,
he will always be the Gladiator. He will
yeah.
always be Maximus Decimus Meridius, no matter how many films he does with a vaguely offensive accent. He's got Craven coming up as well. I'm sure that'll be vaguely offensive as
Oh
well.
God.
But I think there's nothing quite like, again, like I know, because I knew those shots. I'd seen it a million times without seeing the film. I
Yeah,
know it's instantly iconic and recognizable.
yeah,
And no matter what he does now, whatever, no matter what any other film he will ever do, he's forever immortalized. He is forever one of the gods now
yeah,
of ancient Rome. Like this is quintessential like cinematic storytelling. And again,
yeah.
all the more impressive because they were just fucking riffing on it, shooting it off the cuff. No
Yeah.
plan, no plot. What are we going to do today, Ridley? What are we going to do today, Russell? I don't know. Let's figure it out.
Film these
Like,
horses. Oh shit.
fire that man with the jeans. Fire him now. But just yeah, it's shocking to me that this has comes together as well as it does.
Yeah,
Um, I do think the editing is very good as well. I think it's
yeah,
across the board. It's fucking fantastic. Like you said, everybody's 100% invested and firing on all cylinders. Incredible film. One of the best
yeah.
films I've seen in a very long time.
Oh, that's high praise. That is high praise there from Mr. Spider-Man. So there we go, sharing the silver screen. The second episode of this. A resounding success, I'd say, so far on both parts. For last week,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
We'll see what you think of
last
my
week, last month, and
yeah, yeah. We'll see what
so
you think of my next pick.
okay then. Well, let's fucking reveal it, shall we? So
Segue.
what have you got coming?
So I
Because
want to
obviously these two films we did, beg your pardon, these two films we did, we
sure.
put it up to a poll, didn't we? So what
Yeah,
would
yeah.
first?
Mm.
There's no brand design or anything like that. It was literally a case of
No.
who goes first, and then we'll go from there. But with this, it is literally going to be, I have a look at your list, you ask me, have you seen this? Have you seen that? Which
Yeah,
I've done. I think you've asked me if I've seen 5 different films at the moment,
yeah, yeah.
all of which
I'm
I've gone,
slowly
no.
building, slowly
Yeah.
building them up.
Whereas
Make
I'm
it.
not so subtle. I'm like, you've not seen that, you fucking prick. Let's go.
Well,
Um,
if you want to know the kind of films I haven't seen, these great, Oscar-worthy, well-regarded,
yeah.
award-winning, again, like some of the reviews for Gladiator were not kind either. Like some of the,
No,
like Roger
that-
Ebert, like said he was like garbage, and I was like, you never
really?
like anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just there's a couple of like bad reviews out there. I think Empire did a fairly bad review of it as well.
Yeah, but I
Um,
think they reneged on that. I think they
yeah,
backtracked
I bet they
3
fucking
years
have.
later
I bet they
because they
fucking
were
have.
like, let's rewatch this. And oh,
Yeah.
no, it's actually fucking great. But anyway,
So,
so
so
go on,
yes.
go on.
So
What are we
again,
looking at?
so I don't want to like eventually I want to set the standard. I want to set kind of my stall out and kind of
Okay.
we've done weird. We've done very, very weird.
Mm-hmm.
We've done Gladiator now. I think I want to set the tone for the kind of stuff I'm doing. I will slowly kind of, turn the dial down a little bit, and it's not maybe
Oh, okay.
they're not so fucking weird. However, this one is. So this
Shit.
is in fact Bill Murray's favorite film of 1990. Just to let you know.
Right.
But
Okay.
recently, a film has come out, and there was a meme going around recently about Poor Things.
Mm-hmm.
The Frankensteinian kind of woman, and the
Great
joke
film.
was, the meme was that it was a remake of an earlier film. And again, it's a joke. They're jokingly saying this because it's Frankenstein, isn't it? So, but I quite like that film that they're referencing. So again, to keep with the theme, I think we've got to you've had this historical epic, I've had the weird Japanese film. I'm going to go weird again, but this time we're going to America, and we're going to do a Frank Henenlotter film. So from the man who brought you Basket Case, Brain Damage, and several other weird ones like Bad Biology. We are going to look at Frankenhooker.
It's one of the ones you mentioned. Right. Okay. There we go.
Again, I will as we
Frankenhooker.
go along, I'll turn up the quality maybe and the weirdness down a little bit.
Oh, it's not. It's not
But
about that though, is it? It's
no,
literally
sure.
about strange things that I haven't seen and
Exactly.
things that you
Exactly.
haven't seen as well. There might be something
Exactly.
strange that I put out there eventually. You
Hey,
never know. You never
yeah.
know.
I've got a good set now. I think I've got a good set that could carry us into next year at least, at the very least. So yeah, some really interesting stuff. Some stuff I just absolutely love, and I think is quality filmmaking. There's one in particular I think I'm hoping you haven't seen. I'm hoping you'll really enjoy. But yes,
Uh,
Frankenhooker. So
Brilliant.
it's everything you need to know in the title, I think.
Clear as day. Clear as day.
Louis
Right.
Day.
Well, there you go. Frankenhooker is what's coming up next. So thank you. Thank you for that. So that'll be coming at some point in March. And we'll go from there. We'll keep doing these until we're old and grey, I think, because there's lots of movies out there that we haven't seen. But yes, so thank you very much for watching. Hopefully, you can join us next time on sharing this silver screen. It's been a pleasure to riff on Gladiator as it is, Dan, as always. I'm
Thank you, Andy.
glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for again forcing my hand. I would
Yeah,
have watched it. I would have watched it eventually, I'm sure.
yeah.
But
When you're in the care home.
yeah, let's see what this newfangled film Gladiator is all about. But no, I what absolute just tour de force
Yeah.
of a film. Yeah,
Well,
wonderful.
I'm banking on you not liking the next one, so there we go.
Oh,
We'll leave
well,
it there. So
absolutely. I like the mystery.
yeah, I've not decided fully, but yeah, I've got an idea. Anyway, so we'll end it there. Thank you very much for watching. Tune in again, like I said, to sharing the silver screen. Subscribe to Mr. Spider Dan and the Secret Boars podcast. Where can people find your magical, wonderful stuff?
Wonderful, wonderful stuff is on spiderdanandthesecretballs.com. I've created a playlist for this specific show, so I'm going to add Andy's show to the playlist. So we're going to alternate
Likewise.
again. Yeah, we're going to alternate. So so again, there'll be an episode for me and him, so we can have a bit of crossover. Hopefully, for the fans, they'll come over to me and they'll go over to Andy as well. But yeah, so there is a playlist available on my homepage. So yeah, just scroll down, you'll find it towards the bottom. And yeah, so we've got 2 episodes already. Then it will grow and grow and grow, I'm sure.
Lovely. Obviously, if you like this video, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more videos and reviews like this. So, thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.